Hi, this is Shu with a review of the KD14. First of all, the first thing that pops to me about this shoe is that it's got a nice little plasticky fuse mesh material all around, and then it's got this little bits of coatings of this suede material to give that pattern. So it's very 3D, if you might call it. There's a nice little pattern to it. Let's see what they do with the color next. But it feels great. People who like those leopard stripe kind of pattern, yeah, they will love this. The strap is the one thing that seems to be kind of reminiscent of the Kyrie's more so than the KD's. They go all the way here from the medial side all the way to the lateral side. But there's nothing spectacular about it, nothing inconvenient about it. So yeah, you could cut it off if it gets in your way. Fits somewhat true to size. I remember the KD9s were very much... Oh. The KD9s were the roomiest one, and the KD13 was the narrowest one to date, I think. But for this, you can go true to size. If you went true to size with the 13s, you may want to go down half a size or so. Well, one thing that's different is that it's got a full-length zoom swivel. Seems to be the tradition of KDs these days. It's got a Cushioning midsole, so it combines or complements the zoom swivel insole nicely. This is the plushiest, softest KD cushioning to date. So some people might not like that. A KD has always been something of a low to the ground and a little bit firm. I guess KD7 had something very high off the ground and plush, but the Max Air in the heel made it a bit of a different experience. But this is the softest one. It's like PG5, but with a little bit of a resistance or a bounce to it. The insole is this emptied up core, starchy on one side, and plush ortholite foam on the other side with this suede fabric on the top layer. So this is a bit of an improvement from the 13s. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit softer than the 13s. And the zoom swivel as well, as measured by a very respected reviewer in Korea called Foremost. He cut it up and he measured the zoom air, and it's the thickest zoom swivel compared to the previous KDs. But it does not have an added zoom air on the forefoot, which is something that you could really feel with the KD13. So if that's something you're very sensitive to, having dual layered zoom air on the forefoot, then you might not really appreciate the Zoom KD14. But for me, it didn't feel like it was extraordinarily different. There is a difference you can feel, but it's not exceptionally large. It's kind of like having a normal zoom air and a zoom turbo. There's not a huge difference, especially if you use a soft midsole like Cushioning. It's got a good heel-to-toe transition. No complaint about the way it's transitioning or the heel-to-toe drop whatsoever, which is usually my biggest complaint or my biggest point deductor if you see some of the shoes that I've reviewed in the past. So this has a nice balance in terms of that. The heel has a nice little padded heel counter, which goes all the way up here. And it's pretty starchy all the way here, and it's well padded on the inside, so it provides best of both worlds. There's a rigidity here that makes it function decently as somewhat of an in-between between a low and mid-cut. I guess you could call this a mid-cut. The tongue is well padded, and the toe box area, it's not too crazy free, but it's a lot roomier than some of the KDs in the past. It fits slightly narrower than KD9. Yeah, it's a lot roomier than the KD13s and the 12s. So yeah, the Cushioning is pretty amazing. It's good that they went this direction. It's low to the ground, yet it's plush, even if you have this starchy insole to provide that well-balanced, evenly distributed impact zone, or so that you won't have any pinpoint areas that acts like a black hole that sucks you in. So that's good. It works for this one. The base is not crazy wide, but it's just wide enough compared to some of the basketball shoes that do not have a prominent outrigger. The pattern is quite similar to what we've seen in the KD 13s, but at the same time, we see some of the straight patterns that we've seen in some of the Zoom soldier lines. So I prefer this circular octopus tentacle type of suction cup pattern all over. So it will be missed. It is not as grippy as the KD13, but it works just fine. It feels like there's a little bit of a slide once you move around, especially laterally, but it's not too big. It's not something you can feel drastically. The good thing is, because these are all just plain lines, they're gonna let the dust kind of slide out as you wear them in dirty courts. It's got a nice little support shank in the midfoot that does not hinder the cushioning at all. This little part helps to provide some lateral stability, even though it does not have a prominent outrigger. It helps to a certain degree. So all in all, it's a nice, well-balanced shoe, the softest KD to date. If you've enjoyed the Cushion that's used in the Kobe Rit Protros or the Kyrie Low 4s, then you would appreciate the more prominent Cushion that's used here. Although this Cushion is an older model compared to Lunar or React, sometimes they go back to the old school material and make it work even better. So this is the case. So for a size 9, it weighs about 400 grams, so it's not too heavy. A 9.5, it weighs about 400 grams. But what's important is it feels a lot lighter on foot.